Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Hey guys, thank you once again for joining me for another episode of the Forever Better Academy podcast. Today, the topic is why you need to read every day. Now, one of the most important things, one of the most important actions, one of the most important habits that I have built over the last 5 years, possibly more, is reading. By far, above and beyond almost anything else that I have done as I've progressed through my journey of self-mastery and discovery, is reading books. So, be it a physical book, listening to audiobooks, reading blog posts and articles, just generally expanding the knowledge that I'm exposed to. Now, like anything, once you dive in and that becomes habit and it's something that you do, you almost get this sense of urgency around the importance of reading. And if I know if this is for me, especially if I'm away for work and I don't bring a book or I'm on a plane before the whole COVID thing, it's very difficult for me. I get a little bit anxious or frustrated. So it's very ingrained, the importance of reading daily for me. So I make it probably the most important habit. So it all sort of started, I've spoken about this a little bit in previous episodes. So when I first but when it really started to ramp up my journey of self-discovery and self-mastery, I saw a Tai Lopez ad, and love him or hate him, you know, I can't take away the fact that the man changed my life because I was open to the idea and the concepts that he was putting in front of me when he did. And the biggest sticking point was encouraging reading every day. Now, since there's a saying, readers are leaders, and I've seen significant growth and change in my life since starting reading, and like most people that I was associating myself with or surrounded with, or my friend circle, or just in general the sort of people I went to school with, a lot of people that I was around, we didn't read books other than the stuff that we were expected to read, forced. But I don't like the term. I feel it's a little strong because you're not really forced. It's just part of the curriculum. So in school was probably the last time in high school that I was reading books. So for me, once I received that good advice and took it on board, and I picked up, I think the very first book I got was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And I can recall literally when I read that book, I could feel almost like neurons firing in my head. Like I could actually feel brain activity. Like the difference from just being exposed to what was right in front of me, what was in front of my face. The only thing that I could see was directly adjacent to me, to suddenly being fed new concepts, new ideas, new frameworks, new patterns, new principles, new ways to see things, new ways to imagine, different approaches, ways of speaking and communicating, just a whole plethora of opportunity and discovery. And I remember, just as I said, I could feel like just energy, and I was extremely tired. Like I liken it to, like, if you get into health and fitness and you start working out, and at first, like, it's so overwhelming, it's really intense, physically. It was a similar feeling, the whole until your body becomes used to something or your muscles are familiar with that exercise, it's very daunting and overwhelming. And that was the case with my brain. I was so tired. I remember just exhausting my cognitive resources, if you will. So yeah, I was just ruined from the beginning. But I didn't let it stop me. I didn't let it push me off course, because I knew I'd set that task to create that new positive habit in my life of reading every day. And from there, it gets easier. It became progressively easier. As I said, I wasn't reading in high school, so this is literally in my early 30s, picking up books for the first time in what's that, close to 20 years, just shy, maybe like 15, 17 years since high school. Didn't read fiction books, wasn't interested in stories, wasn't interested in much else other than music at the time. So for those of you that I have spoke in previous episodes, pursuing music, so it was very different for me. The value that really comes from reading, I think the first and foremost is really the exposure to more words. So what I want to dive into here is basically, if you take your vocabulary, right? This is the way we communicate as humans. It's what sets us apart from other animals, the ability to interact with one another and explain concepts and thoughts, ideas to each other, and basically relay that message or that concept, that idea to another person, and then they can understand it through the language that we share with each other. When you start reading more books, you're exposed to not only new concepts and new thought patterns and beliefs or ideas, you're also exposed to more words. Now, as simple and as straightforward as that seems, the more words that you have to work with, the greater your ability to express and articulate what you're trying to get across, and that in turn expands your capability and increases the opportunity and the availability of choice and freedom in the world, because you've gone from this narrow window where you can only work within the framework that you've been given, that you currently hold and possess, and then you've taken all these new ways to better express what you're trying to say, adding them in, and then from there your world becomes much bigger, and you start to see things that you didn't necessarily see before, because you're finally given the lenses through which to view them, if that makes sense. So as an example, right, I went from being capable, I guess is a good word to describe it, but not necessarily applying myself. So I had the framework, the ground foundation there that I'm capable, and if I'm capable, I'm telling you, anyone is capable of improving with reading. It's proven. This is not even like this is not theoretical. This is time and time again. Millions of instances where reading has improved people's lives. I had what I had given myself through my own efforts to work with and navigate life with. Once I started reading and absorbing and being able, as I said, to expand my world and give myself more tools and more of the puzzle pieces to work with, I literally doubled my income in the space of, if I really distilled it down, I'd say 2 to 3 years from prior to now, compared to, I'd say about a bit over 3 years. So about 5 years I've been on this journey, and within those last 3, the tools and concepts and the ideas that I've been putting in my head have allowed me to level up and be of more value, understand more, and put my own flavor or my own experiences and beliefs on top of that information and that knowledge that I'm absorbing to create a better version of myself. And that better version of myself is now worth double what I was worth before. Just from reading. Now, beyond obviously taking action and doing the work required, but part of that work is the reading. This is why I feel it's so important that I need to share this with you guys, because this simple habit of reading every day can change your life in ways that you never imagined possible. And I'll pose the question to you. If you think about it, if you're not reading, or at least absorbing new ideas and concepts and ways of seeing the world, how else do you get that information? How else do you give yourself what's required to grow and improve? It's all about the actions you take. So you can't just say, I'm ready for change, I want to grow, I want to be the best version of myself, and that's it. It can't possibly happen that way, because half of it is just, making the decision, and then the other half is taking the actions that align with the choice you've made. Now, reading every day, as I said, builds that habit, it builds that motion, that momentum, and upon there it keeps growing on top of what you're growing. We've talked in previous episodes about the compounding of that 1% each day improving. As I said, I never would have imagined that something as straightforward as the act of reading books every day would double my income. Phenomenal. And then I take a good portion of that money and I buy more books. I invest in myself, and I invest in my own growth, because it's vital to my ability to be of value to society and provide for my family. I really like the concept of almost, if you would look at a book like a book being a puzzle piece, right? Now, I don't know if you ever remember, when I was a little kid, we used to have these books like activity books just for kids to play in, like a colouring in book. And in Australia, at least when I grew up, it seemed very popular. It was just part of my world. Was a book that was basically called Dot to Dot books, and the whole concept was basically you'd have these little dots with numbers all over a page, and it was in the sort of shape of something. You couldn't quite tell what it was. You knew something was there, but you had to basically connect the dots. Hence the name Dot to Dot. So you would follow the series of numbers, drawing a line between the dots as you worked your way around, and once you'd connected all the dots, the picture was revealed to you. Now, I love this idea of looking at books for me as the dots, and as I connect this dot to the next dot to the next dot, they all come together and help me see the bigger picture. So, and the beauty is it's endless. If you take that picture on the page in that activity book, once you get to the last dot, you've completed the picture. But life is infinite. There's no end to the amount of dots that you can connect. There's no limit to how much of the picture that you want to see. So for me, one of the greatest joys that I get from reading each new book, because I like to read like a more than one book at a time. So generally, I might read something in the morning when I'm up having breakfast. I'm fresh. My mind's fresh. I haven't drained my creativity or my cognitive resources for the day. So I like to dive in and when my mind's fresh into the day, active, having something to eat, and nourish my body as well as my mind. And then I might read a book on like a how-to sort of throughout the day, something that helps with business or sales, marketing, just generally around that space. So practical books that give me tools that I can apply or utilize in almost real time. And then I also enjoy reading books of people, like biographies or amazing stories, people that inspire me, people that I look up to, and just as an interest to dissect the things that they're doing that I can model and mimic and take and use them to benefit the growth in my own life. One of the things that I feel is almost a side benefit of reading in that way is that you get to combine ideas. So let's say if I'm just reading a book through start to finish, I absorb that. It becomes one of my dots, and then I can connect those concepts through to the other dots that I possess and that I'm going to possess in the future. The beauty in reading multiple books all sort of together is I find, for me personally, it might be different for you, is when you read in that manner, you start to connect not only the dot of the book itself, but dots of the concepts within the book and the ideas with other pieces of the book. So it seems like it's stickier. It almost sort of helps solidify those ideas and concepts for me because I'm connecting them to other ideas and principles in other books in real time. So rather than just sort of be immersed in one, I like to absorb from multiple different sources or I don't know what you call it, streams of information and data. But I take them in and combine those ideas. And it's an enjoyable way to read because it actually sometimes helps me to see something in a book that if I didn't read them, in unison, I wouldn't see the connection between the ideas I'm gaining from different information sources, if that makes sense. So the more dots, the more connections, the more clear the picture becomes for you. So I think probably above all else, that's been the greatest gift that I've been given from reading, is expanding my world, because I'm starting to see more of the picture, more of the how these things interact and join, and it's dynamic. That's the beauty too, like it's not set in stone. So something that, and that takes me on a good point of, when you read a book, it's said that you get something from that book that you're ready to receive at the time you read it. So, if you talk to people that are, especially when I talk to my mentors that are older, that are in their 60s and in their 50s, and when they say there's a very big difference when you read a book, say in your 20s versus your 30s versus your 40s, 50s and beyond, because you're reading that book within the frame that you possess at the current time. So all those dots that you've accumulated as you're reading and growing and working on your own journey of self-mastery make sense within the way that you're able to understand them at the time. If you go back and read a book, say 20 years later, you've given yourself new dots, new connections, new puzzle pieces, new pictures, new information, which allows you to then interpret that prior information in whole new ways. So you can gain so much from a book just by reading it at different points in your life. Your experiences shape you, and they also shape the way that you experience a book or receive information or understand or instinctually or even comprehending the information in a different way. So I think it's really powerful, not only reading those books, but rereading books, every so often, just to see if you're picking up on new things. It's the same as I said, when I was in music, I used to listen to just endless. When I was creating music, I never stopped listening. And listening to songs now versus when I would listen to them in my teenage years, I hear different things. I pick up on different things. There's, subtle changes in the way that I absorb information or understand things, or I might have glossed over something because I wasn't looking for a certain message, and maybe I'm attuned to that message or receiving that message at this time. So it changes. It's beautiful. It's dynamic. It's like anything else. It's the universe is in that constant state of flux. It's flowing. So another point that I think is worth sharing with you guys is books give you solutions. So if you were to think, I have a problem that I need to solve, or there's something that I want to achieve, you could go out and you could start from scratch, go from, knowing nothing about a topic or a subject and learning through the experience, learn through doing and going through the process. But it's going to take a lot more trial and error, a lot of, experimentation that doesn't often serve you as well as taking the lessons from people who've been through that you're trying to achieve, and learning from their mistakes and taking the great information and advice that they're sharing to help propel you along your journey much faster and get further along quicker. So virtually everything has been written about. Now, you could argue and say, well, then why do people still write books? Because different people write in different ways. There's more than one way to skin a cat. If you could write about, what's an example? You could write about, let's just say self-improvement, right? You could write a book about self-improvement. That's based on your experience and understanding and the way that you articulate yourself. It's going to be written very differently to the way that someone like a Tony Robbins would write a book, because he writes it from his experience. Now, you might have very similar concepts, or there's overlap in the way that you put together the tools that are beneficial. But for one person, the way Tony writes might not suit the way that they need to hear the information. And the way that you write it might be that glimmer of light that they need, that hope. The way that they understand it is the way that you explain it. So everything that you need to learn or understand or you're curious about, it has already been written about. But that's not to say that more books won't be written, because it can always be written in different ways, because we all need to learn in different ways and we need to express ourselves in different ways. So if you're looking for any information, the first place to start is looking for a book on the concept or the topic that you're trying to learn. I guarantee it's out there. Don't learn the hard way. You don't need to go through the process from day one, ground zero, and figure this stuff out on your own. We've one of the greatest tools that humans have ever invented is books. The printing press changed the world. Look at how much opportunity we have because we're able to condense the information and the knowledge that we have learned over thousands of years as a species and pass that forward to the next generation. So then literally not starting from scratch, they're building on top of what we've done. We build on top of that. We build on top, our kids, and we keep building on top of that information. And it's the same concept I explained in other episodes of compounding. Compounding interest, compounding with your finances, compounding with your efforts, compounding with your knowledge. Everything builds upon that which came before it. So if you're curious about anything, pick up a book. You're going to find it, because guaranteed the problem that you have is not new, and someone somewhere has had the same problem that has solved it, and it's been written about, and it's there for you to find. So it's another reason to read every day, because the solutions you're looking for are there. You've just got to go and find them. And finding them doesn't mean physically finding them on your own by trial and error. Like, There's smart ways to use the resources that are presented to you, so you have that access. Now, on a note there too, I think people talk about I don't like reading. I hate the idea of sitting down with a physical book. I don't have time for that. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. If you don't make the time and effort for your growth and self-improvement now, you will have to make the time to go through the hardships and the trials and the tribulations, and the result of the lack of effort you put in now, you're basically costing your future self. So if you're listening to this, you're probably not in that camp, because you're listening because you're looking to improve yourself. You're on the same journey as I am. You're here to grow. You're here to understand how to learn in better ways and unlock that true potential and reach your next level on that self-mastery journey. Now, if you don't like reading a book, watch a video. It's not about necessarily the physical book. It's the information provided within that book. If you're a learner that is visual, books may be fantastic for you. Or if you're a learner that is by listening, auditory, listen to an audiobook. Double down. You've got that opportunity to listen to the book while you're doing something else. Probably the biggest key is taking the opportunity that's in front of you, even if it's a small window. So let's say, for example, when I was originally, as I said, entering into this journey or this phase within my life of really rich growth and personal development, I was driving trucks on a daily basis. I would put in the connection Bluetooth on my phone to the stereo in the truck, and I'd listen to podcasts and audiobooks. And then at lunchtime, I'd sit and have my lunch and I'd read a physical book. So I made the most of that window of time. Okay, well, I can do the two things at once. I'm driving this truck. How do I make the most of the situation? I'm on my own for 12, 14 hours a day. Put the audio on. I would consume 4 podcasts in a day, every day without fail, just over saturation, just absorbing as much as I could, taking it all in. And the more I listened to those podcasts, I started to see familiar patterns with the success principles and the way things, the people that I looked up to were operating. I could see similar traits, similar patterns, and it probably helped that I was doing it in such a manner so quickly that I was able to not just absorb the information independent of other factors. I could listen to it and straight away in the same day I could hear someone else talking and pick up on those similar cues. So there's no excuse if you don't like reading a book. As I said, take an audiobook. It doesn't matter. It's a tool. Use it to your advantage. Use it for what it's created for, and that is to basically expand your knowledge and information so you can make better decisions and be of more value to yourself and others. So whatever method does that for you, take that. There is no wrong way to learn. There is no wrong way to absorb a book. It's whatever suits you. So with that, guys, actually, I wanted to mention, it's worthwhile too. This is another little thing that just come to mind. If you're reading a book, the saying is success leaves clues. So when you pick up a book, you'll find a lot of times as you read that book, the author will mention other books that they've read or referenced to help with the concept that they're trying to express or explain in that book. Take that. It's a clue. Pick up that next book. I can't even count the number of times that I've read a book and they've mentioned another book, and straight away I'll go and buy it. I'll go and grab that book and then follow the breadcrumbs. So success leaves clues. If that book mentions another book, almost treat that as a recommendation or referral, that a friend would give you. if that book resonates with you and is giving you something that you find powerful, and they mention another book, take the next one. And that book's going to tell you where the next one is, and the next one. Follow those clues. So I want to share that with you guys. That's all I've got for today. This is Wade Vincent. Remember, of all the habits that are going to serve you well, number one is read every day. This is why you need to read every day. Connect those dots. Give yourself the pieces. The more pieces you have, the more of the picture you see. And when you see more clearly, you're able to take your life beyond what you ever imagined possible because you see how to do it. All right, guys, I appreciate every one of you. Remember, who could you become? That's what this is all about. Who could you become? All right, have a great day. Pick up a book and put in the comments. Tell me what you're reading. I'd love to know. Right now, this is what I'm reading. Tony Robbins, Unlimited Power. Amazing book. This is from 1986. Incredible. Still relevant because human beings haven't changed that much since 1986, okay? So there's your first breadcrumb. Pick this book up. Go and get it, okay? Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.